Good evening. Today's date is
Insert date here.
and per usual, there's been a mass shooting or police brutality or some other horrible thing. I'm not going to discuss that specific event because, another tragedy just occurred during that last sentence. It's much simpler to just change this video's headline as needed and discuss the underlying legal issues surrounding the shockingly ineffective police response to way too many emergency situations. So, anyway, for a long time, police were the de facto heroes of pretty much every piece of dramatic media. This era of what's now often referred to as copaganda was pervasive in cementing the image of every cop as a dutiful hero, hurling themselves in front of any bullet they could to protect a cowering public. Choose an American city name, slap PD after it, find an actor with a stubbled jaw who looks good in Kevlar, and you've got the attention of every family in America. Thursday nights at 8 p.m., only on Fox. And every other network. And in these shows, these cops constantly furrow their brow and repeat one mantra: to protect and serve. They read it off their badge while sipping whiskey at a bar and doing manly dry cry faces. But there's only one problem with that little mantra. The Supreme Court has ruled the police have no actual responsibility to protect citizens. Seriously. Literally. Legally. The precedent that cops don't have to do shit if they don't want to was set by a case known as Castle Rock v. Gonzales, decided in 2005. The plaintiff in the case was Jessica Gonzales, a woman from Castle Rock, Colorado. Here's a record of the sequence of events from the Supreme Court's majority opinion. Keep in mind, this is from an opinion where they decided the police did nothing wrong. Quote, at approximately 8:30 p.m., respondent talked to her husband on a cellular telephone. He told her he had the 3 children at an amusement park in Denver. She called the police again and asked them to have somebody check for her husband or his vehicle at the amusement park and put it on APB for her husband. But the officer with whom she spoke refused to do so, again telling her to wait until 10 p.m. and see if her husband returned the girls. At approximately 10:10 p.m., respondent called the police and said her children were still missing, but she was now told to wait until midnight. She called at midnight and told the dispatcher her children were still missing. She went to her husband's apartment and, finding nobody there, called the police at 12:10 a.m. She was told to wait for an officer to arrive. When none came, she went to the police station at 12:50 a.m. and submitted an incident report. The officer who took the report made no reasonable effort to enforce the temporary restraining order or locate the 3 children. Instead, he went to dinner. Again, I'm quoting from a thing. This is not me making this up. At approximately 3:20 a.m., respondent's husband arrived at the police station and opened fire with a semi-automatic handgun he had purchased earlier that evening. Police shot back, killing him. Inside the cab of his pickup truck, they found the bodies of all 3 daughters whom he had already murdered. End quote. So how did they get from that horrific cluster of events to, no biggie, what you gonna do? Well, Justice Scalia claimed that a, quote, well-established tradition of police discretion has long coexisted with apparently mandatory arrest statutes, end quote. That is, if a cop uses his discretion to go out for dinner rather than, protect innocent children from death, who are we to say that he should have done something else? It's his discretion. He's so wise. Let him do what he wants. He's a smart cop, boy. This case came up again when a man named Joe Lozito sued the NYPD in 2011 after he was attacked by a man on a stabbing spree. Joe actually managed to subdue his attacker, but only after, predictably, getting stabbed a bunch. If only the cops, they were 3 feet away and they merely watched because they were afraid the knife was actually a gun. And then without any hint of shame, they walked over, cuffed the guy Joe had tackled to the ground and told Joe, "We got him," as Joe passed out from blood loss from the stabbing. Joe ultimately lost the case though, because no direct promises of protection were made by the officers, so apparently the police do not have to act if someone is actively being stabbed, and apparently are under no obligation to protect you from others unless they accidentally make a pinky promise to keep you from dying. If you want more details on this case, you can hear it in Joe's own words in a video we did in 2017 that I'll throw in the description of this video and at the end of the video. And both of these cases are building on a precedent set in DeShaney versus Winnebago County Department of Social Services from 1989. There, a young boy was repeatedly abused by his dad, and even though social services was made aware of the situation, they never even attempted to remove the kid. When the 4-year-old finally succumbed to his injuries and entered a vegetative state, his mom sued. However, she lost when the court ruled that the state did not have a special obligation to protect a citizen against harms it itself did not create. So as long as a cop didn't beat her son, it had no obligation to intervene. Oh, and also, when a cop does kill somebody, they're only prosecuted less than 2% of the time. So basically, there's nobody that could kill you that a cop would be legally obligated to prevent or be held responsible for unless Joe Biden himself held you down and choked out your little life. But look, it's true. Being a cop is a dangerous job. Almost as dangerous as being a garbage collector, since, they're more likely to die on the job than a police officer. But especially recently, it seems like cops get nothing but opportunities to prove me wrong and show how needed they are. And almost every time, it's the guys with the plate carriers and the long guns that somehow prove less effective than unarmed citizens. We saw it with the recent
insert horrific tragedy here,
or the even more horrific
insert even more horrific tragedy here.
When a cop does the right thing and actually protects the community they serve, they're actually a double hero, because the actual justice system will treat them like a third-grade art teacher whose student chisels a statue out of marble and say, "What the hell did you do that for? Nobody said you had to do that. Why couldn't you just phone it in like everybody else?" So I don't know if the cops from this specific situation will face any consequences for their failure to act, but I doubt it. Hey, did you know that the police were originally invented to catch slaves? Just thought that'd be a fun way to end this.